What's going on, guys? We're back with another YouTube video. So a couple days ago I went and saw the new Superman movie by James Gunn, and I have to say, James Gunn's Superman movie is not good. James Gunn's Superman movie is fucking amazing. Absolutely stunning movie from start to finish, and I'm about to tell you guys why. But before you get into this, if you like the content, feel free to like and subscribe. We're trying to hit 12,000 before the end of the month, so your support would really help and be much appreciated. With that being said, y'all, let's get into it. We all know everyone was concerned with how James Gunn and David Cornsweet would tackle Superman, how they would tackle his morality, his emotions as Superman, especially with all the clips we saw. And after seeing the movie, they handle Superman beautifully. The entire time I'm watching this movie, I'm like, they've mastered Superman. How he acts, how he flies around saving people, and how the cinematography adds to that. You know, the color gradient, the really bright colors throughout the movie, the spectacle shots they give Superman whenever he's out saving people. This is what a Superman movie is supposed to feel like. Now, I will say this, if you're going in expecting a Superman that's going to be extraordinarily good at everything, a Superman that's going to be manhandling all his opponents, the OP Superman that a lot of people are used to, you're not going to get that. In fact, the movie pretty much starts with him getting his ass kicked. Now, there's probably going to be some light spoilers here. I'll try not to touch on the major stuff, but there will be a few spoilers here because, you know, some of the stuff I talk about, I literally have to get into some spoilers to discuss. But that shot from the trailer where he's on the ground spitting blood, that's pretty much how the movie kicks off. He's getting his butt kicked by the Hammer of Baravia. Superman gets tossed around a lot in this movie, which I feel like some are gonna try and make this into a negative aspect. I would argue it's actually quite the opposite for a couple of reasons. One being that with the antagonists in the movie that he throws down with, you know, one of them being the engineer who is a nanite powered warrior, and then you have Ultraman who's just as strong as he is, which we'll talk about a little bit later, Kaiju that's from another universe, and even then the main issue there wasn't even that he wasn't strong enough, it's really that he just didn't want to kill it. It makes sense. Like, these aren't the types of foes that Superman can kind of just toss aside and call it a day, like, oh, this light work. No, of course they're going to be challenging to him. Luthor literally designed them to be counters to his abilities, especially Ultraman. I think the fact that they were so brutally challenging to him put up an excellent sense of tension in the movie. Like, there were a few times where I was genuinely concerned for Superman's life. Like, oh shit, is he actually about to die here? And I think that's saying something, to be honest. The fact that you can take an OP character like Superman and you can establish tension, I feel like they really did a great job at doing that. Now, that's not to say Superman was weak in the movie, because I can already hear the Superman was nerfed people. He wasn't weak in the movie because he is able to hold his own. Like, there was one point in the movie where Clark had to take both of them on at the same time, and he held his own fairly well. Whereas with Lex's human soldiers in the robot suits, Superman handles them pretty easily. They made it pretty clear that he can dispose of human threats pretty easily. It's really only when it comes to alien threats that he actually starts having a hard time. Superman saves a lot of people here. He really strives to save as much people as he can in this movie. Like, he really does not want anybody to die. There's a point in time where the Justice League or the Justice Gang, they're fighting the Kaiju, but they're not really taking into account like the environment around them. So they're just knocking the Kaiju into buildings, and Superman, the Kaiju's about to, you know, fall into a building, so he literally just flies around and catches it. Oh, he doesn't even just save people. The movie does a great job of showing that he values all life. He saves dogs, he saves cats, hell, he even saves squirrels. Like, David Cornsweet Superman is really a big blue Boy Scout in every sense of the word. The guy doesn't even swear. It's corny, it really is, but it's Superman, and I think that's why it works. Another element they did extremely well in this movie was Krypto. Every time this damn dog was on screen, he always won over the audience. Like, I love how they just kind of embrace the absurdity of Krypto being a dog with superpowers. And like, whenever he's on screen, he's just kind of playing with Clark, you know, he's roughhousing with him, or he'll just be doing dog things. Like, I remember Clark and Lois trying to tell him to do stuff. He'll just sit there and wag his tail for a few seconds in the middle of something important. Krypto will just randomly come in and interrupt. It's just like, I love how they portray Krypto in this movie. I would say this is probably the best version of Krypto to date, and that's after watching Smallville and Titans, the insane disaster that show was. I will say one of the elements that they got right was the dog. Gotta give him credit where credit is due. Okay, gotta give him credit where credit is due. But I have to say, this version has completely dethroned the other ones. Like, this Krypto, he's playful, he's a great buddy to Superman, he's there whenever Superman needs him in his fights, even though Supes doesn't like him very much, but still, he's great. Holy fuck, I hated Lex in this movie. In a good way, of course. Lex was done really well in this movie. Over time, throughout the course of the movie, you really start to hate him more and more, almost as much as Lex hates Superman. And Lex really hates Superman. Lex is a D1 Superman hater in this movie. The stuff he does to ruin Superman's image, the fact that he was studying him to the point where he came up with all these like different attack combinations to counter his every move. And Ultraman, like, this man is on Instagram creating anti-Superman memes. He's got bot farms in his pocket dimension, whipping up hashtags, anti-Superman hashtags. It's just so sadistic. That is such a Lex Luthor thing to do. They absolutely nailed him in this movie. By far, one of my favorite parts in this movie is when Lex basically plays a Russian roulette game trying to get info out of Superman, and he kills someone when Superman doesn't give him what he wants to know. And then the thing is, he wasn't even somebody close to Superman. He was just someone who was nice to him, right? But it just shows how far Lex is willing to go to put Superman down and how much he despises him. This movie got surprisingly dark at times when Lex was on the scene, and it makes sense. Lex is a very dark and envious character, especially envious of Superman, and the movie does a great job at conveying that. Now, when it comes to the side characters, the absolute highlight in this movie, at least for me, was Mr. Terrific. He was already one of my favorite characters from Justice League Unlimited, aside from Captain Atom. Mr. Terrific in this movie is probably, as it stands right now, the best live-action depiction of him to date. And I say this because there was technically a live-action version of him in Arrow, and he was nah, to be honest. The one in Arrow is like a geek in the sense where it's like he's super social and extroverted. He is tech support in a way, but it's never really fully explored how smart he is. He's really only Mr. Terrific in name only. It didn't really feel like Mr. Terrific. This one is super reserved and just kind of hates everybody, does what he needs to do and relies on his logic to get the job done. I'm like, this is Mr. Terrific. This is what he's supposed to act like. He borderline carries Superman at certain points of the movie. James Gunn gives him an amazing one-take scene with his drones, which you probably saw a little bit of in the trailers, and it's awesome. And when it comes to Guy Gardner, again, I think they absolutely nailed his personality. Very much an egotistical jackass. Hawk Girl was solid, but for me personally, I do feel she was a bit underutilized, which brings me to some of the issues I had with the movie. One of them being some of the scenes kind of drag out at times, like, for example, the interview scene between them that is from the trailers. I like what they were going for. I just feel it was dragged out for a little bit longer than it needed to be. I think the total amount of screen time for that scene was somewhere in between like 8 and 10 minutes. In reality, I really think it only needed to be like 5 or 6. When I was watching the scene in the theater, I'm like, this is cool for like the first few minutes, but then a couple more minutes go by and they start making jokes, and I'm like, okay, can we wrap this up, please? I still like the scene. It's very well acted, very well shot, written, but again, it just felt a bit too long, just me personally. And they do this quite a bit where they try to inject comedy into some of the emotional moments, and it's kind of hit or miss, to be honest. I really wish they would just stop doing that. Like, sometimes it's fine to just let the moment play out. Like, I know our generation's attention span is cooked, but there really doesn't need to be a joke every single time we have an emotional scene. Because, to be honest, when they don't do that, when they don't use the humor, the moment actually hits, and it works really well. Like, for example, there's a scene where he goes to his dad for advice because something happens in the movie where he finds out that the reason he was sent there and the reason why he thought he was there are two completely different things. Like, he wasn't actually sent there to save people. His Kryptonian parents sent him there for a different, very nefarious reason. And his dad, you know, there's a scene where he goes to his dad for advice, and the scene works extremely well because there's no humor to undercut it. They just let the emotion play out, and it hits. It hits extremely well. We need more of that. Now, they don't overdo it to the point where it ruins the movie or anything, but it's just something worth pointing out. This whole trend of using humor to undercut serious scenes, it was cute at first, but it's honestly just getting kind of annoying now. Also, there's not really much of Clark Kent in this movie. You get a couple scenes with him at the Daily Planet, but most of this movie, he is Superman. That's the thing. There's a lot happening in this movie, and I feel because of that there's a lot of characters, there's a lot of story elements that they try to put in, and because of that at some parts of the movie the balancing is off, and there's a few elements that just kind of seem to get shafted as the story progresses. Like I said, the Clark Kent part of Superman I feel like was one of those that could have used a little bit more time to cook. I already said before that I think Hawkgirl could have been given a little bit more screen time, a little bit more to do with the other characters. One more thing I have an issue with. A certain character shows up at the end of the movie. Now, I'm about to spoil who this character is in 3, 2, 1. It's Kara Zor-El, Supergirl. Supergirl shows up before the credits to get Krypto, because we come to find out that it's not actually Clark's dog, it's her dog. From what I saw with her, she was cool. Like, I definitely want to see more with her. But the thing is, there was a plot point that I said before in the review where Clark finds out something about why he was really sent to Earth. And this actually has ramifications on his reputation after this happens, because Lex uses this to tarnish his name and turn the people against him. Now, with Supergirl being there, and it's already heavily implied that their relationship was established before the events of the movie even happened, Kara, unlike Cal, actually grew up on Krypton. She knows the history of Krypton. She knows what Krypton does. She even knew Clark's parents to a degree. This is just assuming they're going off of her canon lore like they did with Clark. Now, I'm not too big on Superman lore, so again, y'all can feel free to correct me, but why wouldn't she tell Clark about this, like prior or during the events of the movie happening? Maybe I missed something, or this is something they mean to expand upon later, because I do know she's getting a movie in about a year or two, so I'll just consider it a nitpick for now, but it's just something that didn't really make sense, unless she just genuinely didn't know, which I doubt, because again, she grew up on Krypton, so she would know that Krypton would want to conquer other worlds. Other than that, though, this was a solid film. I really enjoyed it. My personal rating for this movie will fall somewhere in between a relative 8.5 and a 9 out of 10. They really outdid themselves with this movie, and I can't wait to see more of David Corenswet's Superman. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for the video. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys like what you see, be sure to like the video, share, comment on the video, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much for watching. This movie was fucking spectacular. It was super, man. And yeah, I'm out. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.